Okay, so I tried to pause the live so that you could see we're in North Beach, and I want to talk about the relation between long-term being mean and evil and crazy until you get to the point, like other people were doing, bragging about illegal activities, right? So some people were being highlighted, and their businesses were getting extra citations or being held to the law very vehemently, meaning people were getting cited for things they did do where their neighbor, other people, other business next to them, or businesses owned by other people were not getting cited. So what they did was the ones that were getting cited paid because they don't want to pay all the penalties that come with being cited. The people where they ignored it and just allowed them to break the law, they just did more and more and more, right? So instead of saying they were grateful that they hadn't gotten in trouble for what they were doing, instead they started doing more. So look at this poor building, right? I'm going to go to get you a better view. But as soon as I see you guys back in there, sorry, I had to put us on pause so that I can make sure we had the power we needed. So guys, I promised you all this week we're doing research shows. So I always like to do a good double entendre. So when you do the research, it not only shows the physical stuff we can see, it also shows spiritual stuff, energetic stuff, and how the human brain works when it comes to ego, because ego is low self-esteem, but arrogance is evil. So arrogance is a human telling you, hey, I've gotten away with this so long that I'm going to do even more, right? So what the elders in Chinatown taught me when I was very little is they always call that line pushers, right? When I finished Chinese medicine school in 97, I started calling it dark chi, right? So when you hear me say dark chi, I mean negativity, right? And that negativity is running through someone's space until they never get a yin-yang balance. What they get is more evil, more evil, more evil, and then start to brag about it. Okay? So when the orchestration happened for the theft of my truck, people did not even have the self-esteem, or they've been doing it so long, they were just made a dark chi. So even though they could have waited till it happened and then did it, they called me. I have a phone call log to my cell phone saying, we're towing your car, because they were so happy about doing it. Now, you know how I always like to make sure that you go with evidence, right? So as a profiler, I don't just say what I think. I'm a member of Mensa, and I don't say what I think. I'm a 99, which means we're the 1% of the 2% of the brains in the world, right? So the geniuses are in genius societies are the 2%. We're 1% of the geniuses. So we're 1% of the 2% of the people. And I know I don't say what I think. I like to say what I can prove. So there's no logical reason for buildings to be torn apart from the inside like that, for the owners to do it on purpose, and then claim a tax break for ruining a historical building. Just like there was no reason for someone to call me and say, we're towing your car, if it wasn't orchestrated, evil, and vindictive. And vindictive doesn't mean you did something. It means they've been trying to break you, but they couldn't. So they tried to think of another reason or had a meeting to figure out another reason, right? Another way. The stuff that would have broke them didn't break you. So they try to figure something else out. So when you look into that building, you'll see the bricks are being held up with some wooden reinforcement and steel. So what you want is you want your frequency to hold you up. But if you look in the inside, somebody flooded that building, somebody demolished that building, right? Different things happen on the interior of those bricks, while the facade, that's what facade means, is the outside, right? So from the outside, there appears to be a building there. But when we look through the windows, right, which no longer even have glass in them, when you look through there, you'll see that's an empty lot. That's just debris. There's no building left. So I get the call that says that. I was on my way to my truck. So whoever it was watching me because they wanted to watch my face as I saw my truck getting towed. But they were so arrogant and crazy that they called me in enough time that the truck was there and my truck wasn't latched yet. So the guy committed one set of felonies. That was that he used his truck to block me from getting in my truck so that he could position the tow truck to take my truck. Well, if you check, right, I always like to keep your vibe high. So that place was exposed, and having done that to so many people that they got, the FBI came in and raided them, right, a couple months later. So that was like a long-term villain. So this is what we're talking about. Spiritually, how do you deal with long-term villainy? So when my truck was stolen, it was orchestrated. So of course, I was on my way to a meeting. The guy wouldn't give me my truck. I videotaped it, and then I sent it out of state, and then I sent it out of the country, like I always do with everything that I have photos or video of. I always send it to other countries. I always send it to other states, right? So I tell him I'm coming for my truck this afternoon. That I went to the meeting, right? Because he said that I can't have it. He's taking it and blocking me from taking it, and then put it on the truck, on his truck, and took it. So when I got done with my meeting, I went there with the money that they needed to get my truck back. And guess what? They refused to give it to me on camera, laughed in my face, said, we can do whatever we want to you. You have no body. And then I knew also from things they were wearing and marks on their skin and things like that, that they're just overall villains, and they thought they were enjoying it, and they're going to get away with it. So I did not feed them energy. I did not beg for it back, right? You don't feed people like that energy. So they didn't get any anger. Here are the energies they eat like caviar: anger, fear, envy, doubt, right? Anguish and begging. They eat that like caviar. So they got nothing. And I said, okay, I'll come get it tomorrow, right? The next day I went. Well, guess what? I went every day for 6 weeks with the money. And every day, guess what happens? Every day, the cost goes up. So the first day, it was already hundreds and hundreds of dollars, right? They even made up some fees. Like they made up a $700 fee, and it just said fee, $700, because they were trying to make sure that I couldn't get it back. But I just kept coming back with the money that they asked for. And then someone else said, oh, there's a city program. You qualify for that. Go and get it under that. So then the city, some people that worked for the city started emailing them, give her truck back. 6 weeks later, going every single day on video, they would not release my vehicle. Got it? So my vehicle had biometrics. So that meant you can't start it without me. You can't start my truck till I tell you how it gets started and where. So you need me in order to start my truck, no matter what you do. Got it? Otherwise, you'll never figure out how to start it, right? So people have tried, right? I've literally had to come back from out of town for mechanics, right? So they had the truck, they had it for 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, they still couldn't figure it out. All these emails are going back and forth. So it's documented that they had it, that they took it, that the money was there, they wouldn't release it. All the videos and photos and the arrogance show that these are criminals, because the criminal mentality is cold-hearted, like an evil demon, right? And I don't mean like, like sexy criminals raised to be criminals by other criminals, because usually they're just in a really great suit or, a cashmere sweater. You don't notice them because they're not obvious and they're raised not to be obvious, right? It doesn't mean they're not ruthless. It doesn't mean they don't do criminal activity. It means the kind of mind that is a criminal mindset doesn't have the etiquette not to do things so blatant. They brag about it because they're evil inside. Like the elder said, they are made of low frequency, right? They are line pushers. And then, I changed that. I already told you, as I start calling that, you're made of dark chi. So they were made of dark chi. They're cracking up that every day I'm nice and I'm kind. I go in a dress with a little picnic basket or some kind of purse that looks like a strawberry or what the heck ever, and asked for my truck back, which was never illegally parked. My truck was parked legally at a meter with no money owed. There was not street sweeping. There was no reason to take my truck. My truck was legally parked. And that's all on the video. And then it's on the video with them laughing every day for 6 weeks, with me going in just nice and sweet and cordial, asking to pay to get back something they stole. And what instead was they just kept laughing. Well, when you don't give them energy, they should start to wonder, what or who are you that their stuff is not working? So then the emails from different people that worked within the city of San Francisco made the paper trail, right? Electronic paper trail. So now anything they're responding to, that's a whole nother level of federal crimes and federal fraud. So there was just all this stuff going on, and most people knew about it and they were laughing, because then I had to take the bus. And then somebody pointed out, like, I take the bus anyway. And I was like, well, yeah, but I lived in Paris like 10 years and I took the bus. And so taking the bus doesn't make me feel bad. And they said, no, they want you susceptible to the type of people on the bus to lower your frequency, to lower your vibe, so that it'll be easier to do energetic attacks. Right? Energetic attacks have all kind of names. It could be somebody just angry staring at you. There was a little boy his mother was the client, because he was like Damien level of evil. And he would just like stare at people. And when people would look back at him, he would say stuff like, I'm trying to make your nose bleed. I'm trying to write. And so it's just so odd. But that's who he was. So when you look at that, what would happen is the people who came and said, hey, look, they're dark, they're evil, they do this, they do that, or they have practices that are dark and evil. They tell you the gist of the stuff they're doing. So when you're dealing with somebody acting like that have the same frequency, that doesn't always mean they're doing that stuff, right? You have to be logical. So these people had my truck for 6 weeks, laughing and everything about it. And then what happened was people that emailed them started saying, hey, don't you know who I am? You give it back because I said so. And they wouldn't, and they still wouldn't. And so they came up with another fee. And then the person who should have had power over them wrote them a letter, give it back now. There's a program. She's in that program. Also, she's been coming, and I already saw the video. Give her back her truck, right? So big, giant off-road vehicle, they're still not giving it back. It's kind of truck where the blue book is less than the actual value because they don't make them anymore. And so I have business cards from 2 years of men, sometimes men with my same truck, but not my same quality and not the customizations that I did to my truck, leaving their business cards offering me $100,000 or $150,000 for my truck, right? And so I'm praying, and they're evil, so they think it's funny that I'm praying. I'm keeping my chi high. I'm keeping my vibe high. You do that by forgiving people, right? Forgiving them does not let them do it. Forgiving them gives them instant judgment, meaning things you're telling the universe, God, right? Whatever you believe in, God, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, the Lord, the Lady, whatever you believe in, right? That's what I say to my clients when I used to do talks. You called in the big gun. So everybody knows I say God and Jesus, but everybody knows I have spiritual gifts. So I've had a lot of clients. They had a lot of stuff while I was saving their lives using 3 of my 8 university degrees and credentials. So now you have 6 to 8 people in the city all working to get my truck back. The guys that always, offer me $100,000 or $150,000 for my truck, they're livid. They're like, oh, we'll make some phone calls. We're going to get that truck back because 1, you deserve your truck, and 2, you use your truck to save lives. 3, who the heck are these people that have the nerve to do this? When you see the video, it was never even illegally parked. Turns out these people were doing it to various people, and they combined racism with it. So they were targeting people of certain races that they think have no legal protection and had expensive or unique cars. And then people that they use the phrase have nobody. So they figure nobody's coming for them for harming you, whether they're doing spiritual harm, whether they're doing financial crimes, whether they're doing, full-on felonies and, FBI, DOJ violations, like they're just doing all kind of stuff, thinking all those laws don't apply to them because they're doing negative energy or bribing people, cash money, or, which is the bigger way, doesn't apply to you because nobody's going to give you the protection of the law based on your race or your gender or an orchestrated class. Orchestrated class means people have to steal your money, steal your inheritance, steal your houses, block you from work, make up fake things to block your business, right? And when I say block your business, I mean like put fake fees on your business license so your business license can't be issued when all the paperwork doesn't even support that, or your business license, you're holding it and somebody else decides to put a fake fee so that, right, it was like crazy levels of evil and corruption. And corruption doesn't mean somebody does something bad and people know and they get away with it. Corruption means your soul is not pure, your mind is not pure, your intentions are not pure, right? So it's physical, spiritual, mental crimes that somebody is doing because they figure there's nobody to have revenge on them for what they're doing to you. But all this crazy stuff kept happening to all these people, right? For doing it. So I go to get my truck after the 6 weeks, mainly because at that point, they said, okay, well, the program means we were never supposed to charge her. We were never supposed to pay it. She was never supposed to have to pay it. She already proved we're not supposed to take it. And then the guy personally calls and says he's not giving it back. He doesn't care what. So someone from a city office got so tired of them acting like they don't have to do what they're told to do that somebody from the city went down there with me, and based on their race and their gender, when the balance got put to 0, right? So they wouldn't take the money for it for 6 weeks, and the price kept going up, but the money kept going up too, right? To get the truck back. So when we went and it was at 0, they're supposed to finally give up and give the truck back. what they did instead was they added a $300 fee, and somebody else was like, that's it. We'll just give that so that you guys give her truck back because you shouldn't have taken it and all this. And the guys are laughing. Well, guess what? When they give it back, they stripped it. So they stripped $900 tires. Oh, yeah, that might be one thing. But they stripped that car over a series of 6 weeks. They stripped it inside out. They removed all the mats. They went through and stole gifts from my clients of 27 years. Well, some of my clients have been survivors of horrible, horrible crimes, right? And some of them have different energetic practices, spiritual practices, magical practices, over 121,000 clients that I've helped. All of them have 100% full recovery from systems that I created. So all of those gifts, some of them were like, you would look at it and monetarily you would say, you know, why would somebody give you that gift? But it was somebody who maybe had a certain practice, and maybe it was like a little necklace or Archangel Michael pendant with like, looked like Michael's statue that could just walk. So as they were stealing those gifts, they were stealing gifts given to magical people's doctors. Me, right? They were stealing gifts that were gifted from 60 kinds of magic. They were stealing gifts given to me by people who have passed away. They were stealing gifts from people who maybe were affluent and I saved their child's life or I saved their lives, right? So they stole gifts, but that means they triggered the energy in those people who had given that gift and maybe not even told me what the gift was for, what the gift meant. And I always put them in my truck, right? Because I was on the road more than 10 months out of the year. I used to always joke, I should just decorate my house for Christmas because I'm only home for Christmas. And that's only because that's the only time there's no conference, there's no festival, there's no event, there's no retreat, right? There's nowhere. So if I just decorate for Christmas and leave it there year round, I'm only home then anyway. And sometimes I wasn't even home then, especially when I used to travel the world for 17 years. So they give back the truck so badly stripped that I have to have my insurance pay for the truck because my insurance had said because of race, they didn't have to pay for an accident that happened and offered $500. This is how racism and evil go hand in hand. My insurance that I paid $500 a month over a long period of time so that my truck was covered by my insurance. And when somebody, you know, if somebody hit me, if somebody did something to it, right? So my insurance, the universe had aligned it where they owed me for the claim from what happened to my truck. And they laughed, and it should have been like $700,000-$800,000 claim. But my insurance was doing fraud because they didn't want to have to pay because I have full coverage. And so they paid what they said was just temporary. And then if I can't get a truck for the amount they paid, then they would pay the rest of that claim. They did not do that. And then I used the letter for that to move when someone was trying to target me so that I would be surrounded by a whole bunch of people doing all kind of black magic and spiritual attacks and not be able to have a space where I wasn't in a building like that and that kind of thing. So they thought they had it on lock. I think that's the slang. I think the slang is on lock or maybe on lockdown. I don't know. But either way, they targeted the truck so that I would be on the bus, so that I would be on frequencies with people that maybe didn't take the bus because they wanted to. Maybe they took the bus because they had to, right? And I'm not prideful. So I will take the bus because parking is bad in a certain area. I will take the bus to the hood to run errands if I want to. I will take the bus. So I'm not prideful about taking the bus, right? My mom was a bus driver. So they were angry because that didn't lower my frequency enough. So I used the letter to move myself somewhere. And then you saw the 900 hours of footage of an attorney, Claire Irving, and a dentist named Don, who came in for 6 weeks and even brought the KKK with them in order to come in, cast spells on camera, and torture. Yes. And even do torture. Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to change buses at official report.
Okay. So, how about that? So for 6 weeks on camera, people were allowed to come in, and I had used the check as collateral. And then they didn't pay the $800,000. They paid, $25,000. That was stolen by the attorney and the person that I gave the letter as guarantee to prove that I could pay my rent when I moved. And then they said they targeted because I moved in by myself. So when I moved in, there wasn't like a truck of guys helping. There wasn't friends that helped, right? I spent 28 years being a profiler, and I spent that same amount of time, or almost 29 years, because it's about 6 months difference, helping survivors of incest, ritual abuse, and torture, right? 100% full recovery, plus stopping the bad guys. So first thing I did was make sure I had no collateral damage, meaning no one I cared about was anywhere in my life. So I always looked like I was alone, even if I was in a relationship and had a boyfriend. Why? Because then there was nothing to hurt while I stopped the villain. And then I didn't even have goldfish, right? Because there was nothing to take care of at my house where you would need somebody to go in and do it. I just was stopping villains, right? So, and healing victims. So they decided to target me thinking no one cared what happened to me, as opposed to I've saved the lives of the children or the people of 70 kinds of magic and 28 different religions. Like even the nuances of, Protestant versus Catholic versus Baptist, and then esoteric religions and society religions and different groups and clubs and organizations, secret or not. I had saved all those different people's lives or their children's lives. But somehow these people that were used to targeting people based on race and then creating a false class by stealing all of their assets decided it would be a fun sport to steal my truck and then come into a house that I rented after my house burned down in the wildfires, and 3 of my other houses were stolen. Deed fraud, mortgage fraud, or somebody moved in and then put my house in their name because I didn't live in that state. One house was stolen because I turned down an offer from someone who wanted to buy my house because they said it was their childhood home, but they were predators. So I gave them a price. They agreed upon the price, and then every time they would lower the price. So they wanted me to sell them my house for less than $10,000. And thought they could do that because they're predators. So people, when they are predators, sometimes they don't realize I'm a bigger predators doctor times at least 30,000 people, meaning I have saved the lives of at least 30,000 predators, bigger predators than these guys, right? And then all the other types of people and their practices. So really, it started to be more and more insane that people thought and said often that they could do whatever they wanted. So I did not get my truck back. The money for the truck was stolen by the attorney Claire Evering and the dentist Dawn, who's on 900 hours of footage, video with audio. They even came in my house and performed death magic spells, unaliving spells on video with audio. So you can watch the whole thing, because I wasn't trying to put them on social media. I literally was just trying to send it so that different levels of agencies could see that it was happening and hold them accountable for their crimes, but it wouldn't fit into an email. And because it wouldn't fit into an email, I got the idea from God spiritually. God was like, oh, okay, you can just put it on social media and email them the link, and then they can watch it. And by the morning that it took for the officers to look, to get the message and look on social media, when I went back to look, it already had 44,000 views. So people have orchestrated a life. When people orchestrate a financial life for you, that does not change who you are unless you attach to the unforgiveness or the unkindness or the unfairness, right? If you attach to any of those things, unkindness, unforgiveness, fear, anger, if you attach to any of those things, then they kind of succeed in lowering your frequency. And then they succeed in having you join their team. And luckily, when will it be coming?
That one goes to 11:45.
So I take this one? Okay, so imagine that. Imagine somebody trying to do all of this, the theft of 3 houses and all of that. Call Inez.
She lets you on?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. So how about that? All of this orchestration for the enjoyment that you have a superpower to hurt somebody who does nothing but sparkle, shine, and save lives, right? And stop villains. Imagine that. Imagine saving all those lives. Imagine stopping all of those people. Because when I started, it was like pedos hurting children, 20, 30 years. And I stopped 59 one at a time for stuff that we're just now talking about. But when I started, it was like 1997. And then I made a rule based on how racism works. Never anybody that was like, dirt poor in the mountains or certain races, those kind of crimes set up from causing from poverty. So I didn't do that. Only very wealthy, harmful people that were harming children or old people. And it wasn't targeting the wealthy. It was middle class, right? But not certain races for crimes that are committed by racism or classism, right? So these people decided it would be a super sport. And I'm so stoic that you can't visually usually know my emotions by looking at me. And I don't get riled because I was raised in Oakland at the San Leandro border. So riled, they raise us like the Wild West. So between my social class, my family's history, and my etiquette, you can't be like when I was growing up, we'd be right there at Alioto. See Alioto sitting in front? Like maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, we're at Alioto's. You have to learn how to act and how to order from a waitress when you're 2 years old. Matter of fact, our children have their own booster seats. Like when my daughter was born, my aunt bought her own booster seat for me to take places with me so that she didn't have to sit where other babies sat that might not be good for her health. You understand what I mean? So just in the same way we get that treatment of love and etiquette based on social class, we're taught to spend our whole lives saving money, because the more money you save, that means coupons, recycling, washing out your aluminum foil, right? Because the world wars, taught us how to, the more we save, the more we can help our country. So our family had already been doing that, because the more you save, the more frugal and practical you are, the more you can help charities. It's not that we didn't have, things that were elegant. I had a horse when I was like, I don't know, 8 or 10. One of my aunts gave it to me, right? But it had to do with how you view money. So money doesn't make us better than other people, but our monetary history makes us have to have more etiquette, because we're held to the etiquette and behaviors of our social class, which means no yelling, no screaming, no acting crazy. That also means if you're broke and you're poor, you still have yourself, right? Because yourself and how you behave comes from subconscious programming. That means it comes from the neighborhood you grew up with, the family, the schools you have, the friends you have, right? All humans, we have programming, because programming is just what you watch on TV. How do your friends act? How does everyone dress? There's no certain thing that belongs to a race. Meaning, if you look at grown men that wear tennis shoes, right? All they did was start making tennis shoes hundreds or $200, because they wanted you to stay like that, so they can tell you from a different type of man with the same amount of money, because that man is raised to be in Broads or Oxfords and a suit, even when they're 2 years old, right? So they wanted people to be sorted out. So my subconscious programming did not match the finances that they committed 60 felonies over 30 years to create for me and force me into, to the point where they were still spazzing out when they had my car, my houses, and I had nothing. And when I say nothing, I meant I had 11 cents. 11 cents, not $1,100, not $11,000, not $11 million, not $110,000, 11 cents, like a dime and a penny, 11 cents. But I didn't have it in that way. It was a couple pennies and a nickel, right? So 6 pennies and a nickel is all the money I had in the world, because of their constant committing more and more crimes to change my frequency, to change my life, so that they can make sure you don't choose to be loved. So that they can make sure you don't try to be conscious and awake, to make sure you're not a sovereign soul going through the world, functioning in what feels best to your heart, and be kind and good. And every time I would rebuild it, they would commit some more crimes to block it, right? So that meant fake debts put against my passport, because I would fly around the world and save lives and make a difference and do news stories or whatever it was, right? And so they figured, oh, why don't we do this? Well, that's a crime. And every time somebody, whether it was me or somebody else who was like, Mia, they can't do that, right? I would pay whatever the fake amount was, or they would pay whatever the fake amount was, right? They're like, we need you in Milan right now. And I was like, I can't get to Milan because somebody did this to my passport. We can't even figure out who, right? And then they would pay it. And then it would still go right back on, even though it was paid. So that means they were stealing from the federal government, because the federal government said they don't know where the debt came from, because they didn't place it there. But they were collecting it, and then they would collect it, and then the debt would go right back on. And so they're like, we have no idea what's happening, but we do know this is not supposed to be happening, right? Until the people were, see that jet? It just looks like an ant in the sky, so tiny. But you can hear it. So my family, we used to go to Alioto's, and this was all lit up and very beautiful. And all the booths that are there, right? The stands, it was like fishermen who had just gone out crabbing or fishing. So all of that was fresh. And then in my 20s, it was like the best crab sandwich you can ever taste, right? But I grew up having at that restaurant, Shirley Temples, and if we couldn't afford it, crab cocktail, or if not, shrimp cocktail, if we needed to save money, right? Because my mom had budget, and everybody had budget. I already told you how my family is. So The people who had fought the world wars in my family, they all drove Cadillacs because they didn't want to drive German cars. And then we all drove Mercedes because we drive really, really far to like visit our cousins and or go horseback riding or, you know, whatever it is, go to the beach city festivals, go to Shakespeare at the winery, to go to the theater. Like we drove very far. Like one time I went to Seattle to see Wagner's Ring series because it wasn't coming in San Francisco for like 2 or 3 years. And another time I went to New York to see Miss Saigon because same thing, wasn't coming for 2 or 3 years. But it's not about that because we would also, all of that has to do with supporting humanities. And so I brought it up so that you understand humanities are set up for people not to go full on black tar evil. Because certain music, classical music, certain practices like going to the museum or going to the opera, right? Those things help you keep your humanity. Like I said, I've had friends and clients because sometimes it only takes me 3 to 5 sessions to fix my clients, everything ever wrong with them. So sometimes I have had a few clients that were already friends who wanted to be clients. I don't like to do it that way. I like my friends to stay friends and clients to stay clients. But 28 years in helping people, sometimes there are clients who became friends because after 3 to 5 sessions, they don't need me again. And the 3 to 5 sessions, sometimes it would be like a retreat, right? And a 3-day retreat, that's 3 to 5 sessions because they're in those sessions hours together. And then private sessions, it could be you came once a week or you came, like I would have clients like come from Austria. Graz is the name of the city. So Graz, Austria, and they would come and then I would meet with them and because they need a break because I'm reprogramming their brain. I'm working on their meridians. I'm resetting their chi. I'm doing everything God tells me with all my gifts plus my degrees to make sure that they're healed. Well, that also put me around people that were claiming that they healed people but couldn't. And that made me very popular with people who had already paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for health and healing and were still sad or broken or having physical or mental or spiritual ailments. So it was tiring that people was doing stuff like this, right? But I wouldn't tell my clients because I didn't want my clients to lose their good chi in order to take revenge on my behalf. So I literally would not tell my clients who could have done something because I didn't want to do something bad. I didn't want to break any laws, right? I never break the law. I don't do bad stuff. I used to say the only people that see me as villains are villains, and then it turned out the villains don't even see me as villains. Sometimes they're tired, right? And other times they're like, hey, I had a good run and she wasn't trying to hurt me, she wasn't out to get me, she was just helping people and help make the world better. So I don't have people that just hate me, even people that I stopped. There's probably 3 people in the whole world that just be like, I can't believe it, I hate her. But guess what? Those people, I've never done anything to them. Or one person attacked me and he attacked me for years, like financial attacks, lies, and you guys now call it narcissist. But I say, and I teach all my students, all narcissists are demons. Because if they weren't, how do they share the same language? A trust fund baby, right, in New York has the same thing said to them as like a beekeeper in San Francisco. Those are real examples, right? So how does the villain that's harming them, children or old people, doing the crimes, doing the things that have happened to my clients, right? I don't judge my clients' lifestyle. So that's why I have clients that some people might think my clients are villains. But also I keep my clients' secrets. So if I know, 1, I don't ask. 2, if I know, I still don't tell, right? Because they aren't doing anything illegal or immoral in front of me. They have come to me for their spiritual help, their physical help, or their mental healing and well-being, because I don't teach coping mechanisms. I literally reprogram and fix brains. And because I reprogram and fix brains, they don't need coping mechanisms, because everything that broke their brain is over. So it is 100% permanent healing. And I was born with all the spiritual gifts, and I mastered them by age 8. And because of my IQ, I qualified for Mensa when I was a little kid. And then I became a gifted children's coordinator for Mensa. That means you're the grown-up that looks out for baby geniuses while they're in school. Make sure they're getting supported, not bullied. Make sure the curriculum is supportive of them. And out for baby geniuses while they're in school. Make sure they're getting supported, not bullied. Make sure the curriculum is supportive of them. And by then I was already a master teacher sitting on WASP, right? So all I've ever done is make the world a better place. So when people harm me, I don't know if they don't understand this is a giant video game, but the video game comes for you. And then because I protect my clients who could have taken care of it in like 5 or 10 minutes, but that would have cost for you. And then because I protect my clients who could have taken care of it in like 5 or 10 minutes, but that would have cost my clients all the goodness they worked for, all the stuff they did to make the world a better place. And I wasn't willing to cost their souls just because some groups wanted me to join. And by making my life hard, they figured I would have to join their group to fix it.